Hello, everybody, and welcome. We are absolutely delighted to be here with you today for a beautiful presentation from Kedar Brown. And so, as you are all joining everyone, please go ahead and put your name and location into the chat. We would love to see who's on with us and where you are joining from. And I'm going to go live on YouTube here, bring in our Sacred Planet YouTube audience. So bear with me just a moment while I do that. And we'll be live momentarily on YouTube as well. And we will get started with everything. So everyone, go ahead, put your name and location into the chat. And we'll welcome you in just a minute. Momentarily on YouTube as well. Okay, there we go. We're live on YouTube. So welcome everybody on Zoom. Welcome everybody on YouTube. And those just joining us now on YouTube, go ahead and put your name and location into the chat or the comments over there so we can welcome you too. And we are just absolutely delighted and very honored to be here today with Kedar Brown. So welcome, Kedar. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Jocelyn. It's wonderful to be here.
Yes, it is just lovely to have you here. And your presentation today is Reawakening Our Indigenous Wisdom and Opening a Heart of Compassion. And I know it will be a profound journey, as always, in your teachings. Take us to these really, really beautiful and deep places. So thank you so much for all that you bring forward, Cater.
Most welcome. Excited about the topic.
Yes. And let me welcome some people that we have joining, many, many people joining today. We have over 200 people on live on Zoom, so that's amazing. So welcome Jasmine in Eugene, Oregon. Welcome Andrea. Welcome Lynn in Ontario. Welcome Deborah in Pennsylvania. Susan in Colorado. Welcome Shauna in Michigan. Anna Maria in Sweden. Welcome. Welcome Leslie Ann in the UK. Kara in Indiana. Victoria in Pennsylvania. Sarah in Ashland, Oregon. Welcome Michelle in France. Eileen in Toronto. Julie in Maryland. Sarah in the UK, and so many more. I won't be able to read all the names, but welcome everybody. And also welcome Avis in Lafayette, Louisiana over on YouTube. And everybody watching on YouTube, don't be shy. Go ahead, put your name and location into the chat as well. So we're so excited to have you all on with us today for this really powerful journey with Cater. And so let me just share a little bit about Cater. I know most of you probably know him already, but I will just do a little introduction so that those who may not be familiar with his work can get to know him. So Cater S. Brown lives in the southern Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina. Cater is an international ceremonialist, a cowrie shell diviner, healer, intuitive, and teacher of psychological and spiritual awareness with over 35 years of professional experience. Over this time, he has developed an effective and unique approach to emotional and spiritual healing by braiding together his depth of clinical knowledge of experiential psychotherapies with more nature based, indigenous wisdom teachings and healing methods from around the world. And I've attended some of the both online and in-person workshops with Cater, and it is just such an honor to have you here, Cater. I love your work, love what you bring to the world, and how you're truly helping so many people to heal, helping so many people to return to our indigenous ways of knowing and being. So it's an honor to have you here, and I will turn it over to you now. Can't wait to hear what you will share today.
Thank you, Jocelyn, and thank you to your team, Kathleen and Ami.
Thank
And I also want to offer gratitude and thanks to my teachers, the closer in ones, Melodoma Somé, Will Rocking Bear of the Cherokee Nation, both whom have already crossed over to the other side, and Stephen Foster, Meredith Little at School of Lost Borders, and all of their teachers before them that gave them the knowledge and the experiences that they were able to pass on to me. So I offer a deep bow of gratitude and acknowledgement and thanks to all of my teachers and their teachers as well. So I want to begin with a poem. for the subject matter that we are crossing a threshold and entering into. It's called The Door. It's written by Adrienne Rich. Either you will go through this door or you will not go through. If you go through, there is always a risk of remembering your name. Things will look at you doubly, and you must look back and let them happen. If you do not go through, it is possible to live a worthy life, to maintain your attitudes and to hold your position, to die bravely. However, much will blind you, much will evade you, and at what cost? Who knows? The door itself makes no promises. It's only a door. I love beginning a lot of my programs and retreats and ceremonies often with that particular poem, as it speaks of an invitation to cross a threshold, to walk through this passageway into a different way of knowing, a different way of seeing, different way of listening. And so in beginning that, I want to begin with an invocation. The subject matter for this conversation is medicine wheel spiritual technology. And so I want to begin with the invocation that will walk us around the wheel. So I invite you, if you want to hear my rattle in just a minute, and I'm going to switch the sound over so it shows up and you can hear it okay. So I want you to imagine your place standing somewhere in nature, maybe one of your favorite spots in nature, early morning, facing the rising sun. And we'll begin there. So with much gratitude, we call upon the beautiful medicine people of the East, that place of new beginnings and sunrise and springtime, the place of seeing clearly for the first time every time, that place of curiosity and wonder and innocence, a place of spirit moving into form. We call upon the good medicine people of the East to awaken within each one of us that bone memory, that medicine where you live as well. With much gratitude, we welcome you. Aho. Now quarter turn to the right. You face the south. We call upon the good medicine people of the South, the beautiful ones of the South, the season of summer, the element of fire, the place where we bring our visions in the East and make them real for the people to see, the place of courage and impeccability and right action and right timing, the place where your thoughts and your feelings and your words and your actions are exactly the same, of playfulness and passion. So acknowledge these good medicine people of the South, and we welcome you to the circle. We ask that you assist us in awakening within each one of us that bone memory where you live as well. With much gratitude, we welcome you. Aho. Quarter turn now, we face west. Turning towards the setting sun, the element of water, the season of autumn, the harvest, the place of bringing in the harvest, of receiving, place of deep knowing and perspective, the power of silence, initiation, transformation, So we call upon all the good medicine people of the West. We welcome you to this circle. And we ask that you awaken within each one of us that bone memory, that medicine where you live as well. With much gratitude, we welcome you. Aho. Quarter turn now, we face the north. Turning into the darkening nights, to the winter landscape, to the season of surrender, the element of soil and soul and earth, a place of belonging and knowing where you stand, a place of home. We call upon all the good medicine people of the North. And we invite you to this circle, to this ceremony, to this fire. And we thank you for awakening within each one of us that bone medicine, that bone memory where you live as well. With much gratitude, we welcome you. Aho. And we face skyward. Grandfather Sun, Grandmother Moon, to our star sisters and brothers and others, we thank you for shining down your light upon us. And help us to remember how to shine as a beacon of light by the way we live our lives, so that you can see us from out there, the way that we see you. Grandmother Moon, we thank you for teaching us about flow and deep emotion and balance, about how to bring things that are often held in the shadow and bring them into the light over and over and over again. And Grandmother Moon, we also thank you for those reminders that even on those dark nights of the soul, that there is a light that we often cannot see. So Grandmother Moon, we thank you for these teachings and we welcome you. And Grandfather Sun, we acknowledge you and we thank you for showing up every day, teaching us how to show up in our own lives every day, even when it's difficult, even when it's challenging. We thank you for teaching us how to fall down 7 times and get up 8, always 8. And to our star sisters and brothers and others, with much gratitude, we welcome you all to this circle. And we thank you for awakening within each one of us those reminders that we too are made of stardust. And we too are from out there, that this is out there. With much gratitude, we welcome you to the circle and for awakening the medicine of the great above within us, in our bones, in our memories. With much gratitude. Aho. Now we bend over and touch the earth. Maybe lay down, see yourself lying on the earth, touching the earth, feeling the soil beneath your feet, on your body. And we offer our gratitude, Pachamama, Mother, Father, Earth. We thank you for teaching us of balance and of seasons and reminding us when we are out of balance, and teaching us that scarcity is an illusion that is only brought about when we live out of balance with you. There is enough and we are enough when we live in balance. And to the great below, we thank you for those reminders of home and belonging and place, the place that holds the bones of our ancestors, this place of belonging. With much gratitude, we acknowledge you, we welcome you to the circle. Oh. Now acknowledge our ancestors. In particular, right now, we call upon those bright and shiny ancestors, those ancestors that are well in spirit within your lineage, those that lived well and died well within your own lineage. We thank you for your lives. We thank you for dreaming us into this place. We thank you for your heartbeats, your footprints, your teardrops and your laughter, now buried in the soil adrift on the wind or in the seas or in the waters. We thank you for the stories that you have carried well and inspired us to carry forward. And to those ones in front of us, those 7 generations and beyond that stand in front of us, we thank you for keeping a watchful eye on what we are doing here and how we are living our lives. We thank you for that accountability and that trust. And with much gratitude, we acknowledge you and welcome you. And to the spirits of the lands on which you live and I sit here, for me, these ancient lands to the First Nation peoples of the Cherokee, I wish to offer my gratitude to those people for the way you lived your lives and the seeds of remembering that you left in the soil, that we might one day remember too how to live in a good way. To the stone people of these lands, to the standing tall people of these lands, to the spirits of the waters of these lands, to the mountain spirits, to the four-legged and two-legged and winged ones, and little people of these lands, we acknowledge you. And we thank you for helping us to remember how to live in right relationships with much gratitude. Oh. And to the Great Council, the Great Council that lives on the other side of the fire, keeping the coals hot, stirring them, keeping them hot. We thank you for the way you tend the fires on that side, and we thank you for remembering and how you watch over us, stand by us, and believe in us, even when we have a hard time standing by ourselves and believing in ourselves and each other. We thank you for your consistent watch and steady hands. And may the way we live our lives on this side of the fire, and may the way we tend the fires on this side be a prayer answer and a blessing to all our relations. Ashe. So I want to invite you back slowly from that invocation. You may even feel that you have a little bit of dizziness or instability, like a foot is still in the other world. And now a foot is back in this world of virtual connecting in this community. And that's okay. It's maybe good to keep a foot there and a foot here, since we're going to be talking about that. So I want to walk you through a little bit of a story as a way of bringing you into this context. I want you to imagine now that you're walking some great distance into the east. Imagine that if you lived in a time before this time, a time older than the pine needles on the trees, in a village long, long way from here, further east in the sun, further west in the moon. If you lived in a village like that village, in a time like that time, and you went to see the old medicine woman or old medicine man of your village, we would want to ask you 4 questions. And these 4 questions could point to various healing remedies, ritual remedies that would be needed. The first thing they might consider could be going on with you is that at some time in your life or another life, you had witnessed or experienced something so tragic that part of your spirit simply left. And the healing antidote would be to sing that spirit back home. And they would say, they might give you a ritual prescription and say, grandson, granddaughter, I want you to walk into the east at sunrise. Greet the rising sun. Feel the great winds. Use the power of your voice and sing to that part of you. Bring it back. So they might ask you that question. When in your life did you stop singing? They say where you stop singing in your life is where you began to disconnect from your voice, from your words, from your truth. I've heard in the village sometimes they say, if you can talk, you can sing. And if you can sing, you can tell the truth. So when in your life did you stop singing? On another day, you go to this old medicine man or old medicine woman to sit with them and tell them the story of challenge, dispiritedness that you're feeling. And as they watch and listen to you very carefully, not saying a word, but watching every nuance of movement in your muscles, tiny muscle movements, tiny body movements, yet not saying a word. And then you get to what seems like the most important part of your story. And they lean over that fire and they ask you this second question. When in your life did you stop dancing? The old ones say if you're going to remember who you are, you got to stay connected to the four bones in your body. Stay connected to your backbone, to your courage, the courage to stand up and speak when that's what courage looks like, and the courage to sit down and be silent when that's what courage looks like. So you stay connected to that backbone. Stay connected to your wishbone, to your dreams, to your visions. Be mindful of your thoughts, they might say, because those are your prayers. So be intentional with your dreaming. Stay connected to that wishbone. Stay connected to your funny bone, your sense of humor, particularly about yourself and our own controlled folly that we often get entangled with. So it's a great strength to be able to laugh at ourselves, particularly as I learned from some of my teachers, Rocking Bear, Melodoma. It's always good to be able to laugh at yourself before others do. It's a great awareness. Stay connected to that funny bone. Remember the only adversary of the spiritual warrior is self-importance. And seriousness is a bad case of self-importance. So stay connected to that funny bone. And as a healing antidotal ritual prescription, this elder may say, I want you to walk a great distance into the south, and there you will find the fire. And I want you to perform a ritual with that fire that calls forth your fire, your manifesting energy, your courage, your ability to take right action and right time, to bring those visions into the world, to reclaim the fire that burns within you. On another day, you come to the old medicine person or old medicine woman, and they, listening to your story once again, they say, it could be that one of the things going on with you is you have gotten out of right relationship with the wheel, nature, the animals, the beings of nature, either you or the ones before you, and that the healing antidotal remedy will be necessary for you to restore a right relationship with these ones through ritual. They might ask you this question, when in your life did you become uncomfortable with the sweet territory of silence? All the great religions and at least the great known religions of the world began with somebody going into the wilderness and sitting in silence. This old medicine person may say, I think it would be good for you to take that pathway into the West. And as you journey into the West, you're going to come to a river. When you get to that river, I want you to sit with that water and let those waters heal you. Help you learn to remember how to receive, how to give nourishment, how to receive nourishment. These waters of healing and reconciliation, memory and belonging. On another occasion, you go to the old medicine man or old medicine woman, and they ask you this fourth question. When in your life did you stop listening and be enchanted by stories. And what are the stories that you like? The stories that you liked as a child, the ones you liked as an adult to share with your friends now. The wise ones say, be mindful of the stories that you tell yourself, particularly about yourself, and not to get trapped in those. Learn that stories are living and breathing entities of the North, the place of stories. And the place where we learn that these living entities of stories are meant to change, to grow, to thrive. It's like medicine stories. When people come off the mountain with a medicine story of their time up on the mountain in quest, and say these stories are not stories about what happened over the past 4 days. These stories are roadmaps to where you are going. And you must learn to read them and listen to them along the way, because they'll be pointing in that direction. So this old medicine person may say, I want you to walk this great distance into the north. And in that place, connect with the earth, connect with your belonging. Find the story that is living just a few paces in front of you, waiting for you to remember, and walking into that story. So this place of the medicine wheel. Medicine wheel cosmologies have existed throughout history and culture across the planet. Even the word medicine wheel that we use today often as a way of kind of modernity's way of describing this ancient relationship, I would say is a misnomer. It's drawn from a language that didn't exist when this indigenous wisdom, and by indigenous I don't mean people, I mean original. This original wisdom existed in the landscape, existed in the trees, the stones, the rivers, the forests, the mountains. And that ancient peoples, your ancient peoples, even if you, no matter what lineage you come out of, if you walk far enough behind you, you're going to run into a way of being where one's relationship to yourself and to the land and to your ancestors are woven very tightly like a braid of sweetgrass. And that who you are is a weaving together of yourself, your ancestors, and the lands from which you are from. And this is your identity. And so in that way, medicine wheels, whether they were stone circles across Europe, um, the original holy places were stones and trees, wells, rivers, but places where circles were constructed across the planet to help us orient our relationship to not only to the cosmos, the stars, and the movement of our place in the cosmos, but also our relationship to each other. Uh, there's no singular definition, definitive expression of a medicine wheel. We find that around the planet, they're accented a little differently around the planet based on one's direct relationship and experience of the directions and the seasons of where you live. The elements, the rotation of the stars, the beings on the land, the seasonal, elemental, developmental, psychological, archetypal, animistic, shamanistic context of your relationship to where you live. And so in this upcoming course, we're going to do a deep dive into medicine wheel spiritual technology. At this point, I want to ask Jocelyn if you will put up, create a bit of a definition of medicine wheel spiritual technology that I want to put up on the screen.
Yes, I'll get that up in 1 second here.
Okay.
And this is the wheel.
This is the first introduction. It's just the words.
Oh, the words. Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll put the wheel up next.
Okay, great. I will put the words up now.
So this is a definition I've constructed over my experience of working with the wheel. And I'll read it for those that may not be able to see the screen. That medicine wheel spiritual technology is an active conversation between the worlds on behalf of yourself or another. The crossroads where nature, community, ancestors, and spirit allies join together for the purpose of offering a more transgenerational and spiritually diagnostic understanding of the situation at hand in order to activate memory, healing, and connection in both worlds. The elementals, fire, water, earth, mineral, nature, wind, the elementals are the active ingredients that enables these rituals to deliver their medicinal potency in affecting change. The ancestors and other helping spirits assist the middle world in the ritual choreography and the precision of timing. And if you scroll down a little bit more, offer this definition of relationship from my teacher, Melodona, where it says, from an indigenous perspective, the individual psyche can be healed only by addressing one's relationship with the visible worlds of nature and community, and one's relationship with the invisible forces of the ancestors and spirit allies. It is in ritual that nature, community, and spirit world come together to support the inner building of identity. So when I use that as a contextual understanding of what we're going into, you can take that off the screen. Don't yet put up the medicine wheel. I'm going to say a few more words. Um, so as we take a deeper dive into the medicine wheel, and all I'm going to do today is lay out the larger map, and then over the course of the exceeding courses or classes we have, we're going to do a much deeper dive into all these places on the wheel. Um, the wheel presentation that I'm offering up is drawn from the teachings I've learned from various teachers and healers around the world, but specifically from nature as I experience nature here in the southern Appalachian Mountains of Western North Carolina in the United States. Um, so there's a particular engagement that I have with the land, the mountains, the movement of seasons, and what is called forth in the medicine of each of those seasons. Um, so these are my personal reference points as I begin to dive in and learn more and more about the wheel and things I'm going to teach you. If I was to pull that out and extrapolate that out across the planet, we could say that these are mostly they're going to be relevant to the northern hemisphere. If we do have friends joining us in the class from the southern hemisphere, I do have a section where I'm going to talk about how to work with this wheel by changing certain things so that fits a southern hemisphere presentation, and how we move around the wheel in a different arc uh, as opposed to here in the northern hemisphere, and what things in the wheel would need to be changed in order to make that uh, make sense in the southern hemisphere. So we'll do that later in the course. But for today, I'm just going to speak for all of us above the equator in the northern hemisphere, and particularly in the lands here where I live, in the Appalachian Mountains. So if you will bring up the image of the wheel, Jocelyn, um, I wonder if we can expand that a little bit there. At least I can see it bigger on my screen there. Um, so is there a way to shrink it a little bit, Jocelyn, so we can see the whole thing, or is that, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah, is that okay? I didn't know if that would be too small.
I think it looks good on my screen. I can see everything.
Okay, great.
So the orientation to the wheel, I say, is, when you look at different teachings about medicine wheels around the planet, around different cultures, around different places, there's a particular things that are often accented. Um, uh, and I think of they may accent seasonal orientations, animals, plants, minerals, a way of association with the wheel, um, and directional orientations. Um, because my personal experience has been to focus on the wheel as a tool for uh, diagnostically understanding, kind of like I wrote in that original definition that you saw in the other handout, to organize a particular diagnostic impression of what is going on here for this person, for this community, um, and where are they on this wheel? What gatekeeper challenges may they be wrestling with? And also in order to extract and offer a prescriptive ritual response. In the definition, I spoke of ritual like medicine. Um, our way of our medicine of modernity is you go to the pharmacy or grocery and get some medicine, and they'll have something called active ingredients, and that's what gives the medicine its potency. But for our ancient indigenous ancestors, ritual was medicine, and what gives that medicine its potency or active ingredients are the elementals. Um, that's what gives the ritual potency. As I say, the helping spirits and the ancestors, they assist in the choreography and the timing of the ritual. But the potency of the ritual is engagement with a particular elemental engagement. And so there are, um, as you can see around the wheel, if we begin at the very, we begin, let's see, on my screen, looks like east is over here in the, on my right side. So in the northern hemisphere, in particular, the latitudinal longitudinal axis where I sit here in the Appalachian Mountains, east, if I turn east, I associate with spring and morning, new beginnings, the element of air or wind or expression. Um, it can sit at the axis point of seasonal turning of the wheel, we might say at the spring equinox, not as the beginning of east or the beginning of spring. Just I'll speak to that later. Um, and then moving around the wheel, I tend to use the more kind of the Scots Irish Celtic way of seeing the wheel, since those are my ancestors. And so as we move around the wheel, you'd move from spring equinox to May 1st, what would be called Beltane. And this one in the old calendar system, when I say the old calendar system, like way the Jewish calendar still is set this way, and many indigenous calendar, Melodimus in his village, they still organize their seasonal wheel where the beginning of the year is not some arbitrary date like we have for January 1st. Um, it actually comes at the end of October in the Northern Hemisphere in many indigenous systems or in Jewish tradition, where there's entrance into the dark. So this period from the darkest time of year into the winter solstice, this would be the beginning time. So so when I talk about the seasonal orientation, it's broader, and there's a seasonal elemental influence that spans uh, an area of the wheel that's not particularly just sits in one cardinal direction. Um, Although we have to teach it that way just to begin to learn it. So moving east, um, we move through Beltane. The gatekeepers at Beltane. I'll come back to the gatekeepers. Then we move toward the summer solstice, when the sun is at its pinnacle in the northern hemisphere, the place of fire, the place of action. Um, and then as uh, just to go back a little bit on the wheel, when you think about east and you think about this is the place of gathering clarity, insight, wonder, curiosity. And when you become crystal clear about something, what organically wants to happen is you move, you take action. Your action is informed, hopefully, by clarity and right timing. And this is summer, the place of manifesting vision, a lot of activity in nature. Moving around the wheel toward Lunasa, which is the period of the harvest, around August 1st, and then moving toward the west. And the gatekeepers between the south and the west, those things that want to interrupt that movement. And the west being the place of autumn, the element of water, the place of reconciliation, place of um, healing, nourishment, receiving. Um, I love in one of Michael Mead's presentations, he offered this way of seeing the fire and water as these two elemental trajectories of initiation. And that fire is an initiation of ascent, of spirit, of ascension, like being on fire with vision, with purpose, with direction, what we would call a genie possession. Um, Whenever water appears in a story, um, water is the place of descent, right? It goes down. And so water carries us into the realm of healing and reconciliation and ancestors and working on those unresolved components that need reconciliation and healing. And so as we move around the wheel from water, from autumn, we move through Celtically speaking Samhain, this place at the end of October here on the wheel, the gatekeeper to the north. And Samhain to the winter solstice, that's the dark time of year. In the old ancient calendar systems, this would be the beginning of the new year, end of October, as we measure time to the winter solstice. One of the things I love to say to my students is, uh, when is the beginning of winter? And many people will say, oh, that's the winter solstice. And they'll say, well, when is midwinter's night? And they'll say, oh, well, that's the winter solstice. And I say, well, that can't be. And what you have in that confusion is there's a collision of ways of measuring time when time used to be measured by night. So that winter solstice is midwinter's night. It's not actually the beginning of winter. That would happen earlier in the dark time. The things began with night, not with day. And so we have this movement toward the winter, toward the north, this place of deep surrender, this place of earth, this place of belonging, rituals of connection and belonging, rituals of grounding. And so as we move around the wheel, you can see that there are different elemental ritual engagements with the different directions. There's precision around why you would prescribe an earth ritual versus a mineral ritual or air ritual or nature ritual or water ritual or fire ritual based on what is the gatekeeper challenge that one is struggling with. And through the course, I'll get into what I mean by the gatekeeper challenges, these places between the cardinal directions of strength. And then there's the middle of the wheel. Nature, designated on the wheel as a place, as a type of ritual, not as in terms of nature, meaning that ritual is simply a ritual that happens in nature, but nature is the place that one goes to connect with mystery. So you think about all the various ways that one went into the natural world to sit in silence, whether it's vision quest or uh, hemplatia or walkabout or hill walking, all these different ways of going into the natural world, to sit in silence in order to connect with nature. I mean, to connect with mystery. And so nature is a realm of ritual that has to do with gateways and portals and transformational transitions places. Um, and so in this course, we're going to do a deep dive into, as I say, both the diagnostics of working with others from a medicine wheel diagnostics perspective, and from being able to offer uh, very specific elemental and ancestral ritual prescriptions to assist people in what they're working with or what their challenges are. So I'm going to pause here and invite Jacqueline back onto the screen here.
Thank you so much, Kedar. This is so powerful, as always, to learn from you and to really immerse in this wisdom. So thank you so much. And everybody, as Cater has mentioned here, we are really excited to be bringing forward a 6-part class, a 6-module class that Cater will be teaching during January, February, and March this year here at the Quantum School. So I will tell you more details about that in a minute. Is there anything, Cater, that you wanted to say just as an introduction as we are transitioning into speaking about your course?
My challenge, especially in a launch, is I can only just barely scratch the surface. And so the things I picked out to share with you, it's like, I can just give them a taste or an experience of where we're headed. Um, but there's so much more. Um, and I would simply say by the end of the course, you will be able to work with the medicine wheel in terms of whether you're working with individuals or groups or communities of people to both diagnose on the medicine wheel where an individual, a group, or community is with how they're doing, and then bring to them relevant ritual prescriptive response to that situation. Um, and so that's the outcome, of course, is you'll have all this information in your head, and you'll be able to, again, working with individuals, groups, or communities, be able to bring that ritual engagement in a very relative, specific way to whatever needs addressing.
Yeah, beautiful. And it's so powerful, this method of, really diagnosing based on the medicine wheel, because it allows us to go deep into the psyche, right? It allows us through the symbolic nature of the work to go much farther than what we can see on the surface or what we might think is going on with the rational mind. Would you agree with that,
Oh
Cater?
yeah, one of my favorite teachings from Rocking Bear. He said, "Ritual is nonsense." And I kind of looked at him and said, "When you are in ritual, you should not be trying to make sense of it." He said, do that next week when you think about what happened and then try and wrap it up with some kind of sense. When you're engaged in ritual, you should be paying attention and following and taking action, not sense making. So this way of engaging through the medicine wheel, through these initial doorways of psychology, but that's just the entrance point. And then deepening into more of an animistic relational context of engagement with the medicine wheel that comes from a different language. Our animistic languages were very verb based, and so everything was relational and dynamic and moving. And our languages, especially English language, is very noun based. It's very like fixed and detached, and it kind of steals the essence of relationship. So a lot more about that. I want to not fall into that rabbit hole right now.
Okay, well, it's a wonderful rabbit hole to fall into. So here is more of the detail around Cater's course. It is called Medicine Wheel Spiritual Technology for Healing and Belonging. And it will run from January 22nd to March 12th. We will have 2 sessions a month in January, in February, and in March. So it has a really good pace and flow to it. I will put the link for this in the chat here on Zoom and YouTube in just a moment, so you can check it out at your own pace as well. But I really love the conceptualization of this as true technology, spiritual technology, and I think of it too as earth-based technology. It's like we see all these crazy forms of technology out in the world, the AI and the chat GPT and all these different things, but here's the real technology that we
Mhm.
have available and that you teach in such a beautiful way, Cater. So thank you for bringing us this true technology.
You're most welcome. I'm excited about it.
Yes. And so I invite everybody to come here and check out this page at your own pace. You will see beautiful and very wise quotes from Cater that you can read to deepen into the material. Um, we want to really invite you to come and take advantage of this amazing opportunity to sit with Cater, to work with Cater, to be in the powerful space that he holds and connect with yourself, connect with the earth, connect with your ancestors on these really profound levels. So you can see here that some of the things you'll receive on this course, it goes far beyond what we could even put into writing, but some of the things you'll receive are reconnecting with your ancestral wisdom, awakening soul-centered healing, engage in ritual and ceremony. And a really beautiful part of this is that you will learn how to create rituals based on the medicine wheel. Is there anything more you would want to say about that, Kedar, just as kind of an introduction, the ritual prescriptions?
Well, I want to give a ritual prescription as a start uh, for this launch as we move into this course. And since we're talking about the wheel more collectively, I want to invite you to create a medicine wheel, and it could be a stone circle in your backyard or on your land where you live. If you can't get outdoors in nature because you live in an apartment or a town or a city and you don't have access to the natural, you can create one in your house. Um, and you can also, if you're very limited, you can also simply envision it to create a stone circle medicine wheel and set the cardinal stones in the cardinal directions. And then begin to, in that handout that you saw, um, for those in the Northern Hemisphere, begin to orient those cardinal directions in stones and each day touch in with it. One of the, and many years ago, what I did in imprinting a relationship with the medicine wheel is I would walk the wheel every single night. I did every single night for a year. I would go into the woods behind my house and I'd create a stone circle and I would walk the wheel and I'd make offerings in each of the directions and walk it very slowly. Um, and I did it every night for a year. And if I wasn't physically in that location, which I oftentimes wasn't, then I would go somewhere, sit down, close my eyes, and I would journey to my medicine circle and I would walk it and make offerings. And then so it began to connect in this way of connecting with the directions, to the seasons, to the elements. Uh, it's like the directions and the seasons are in the northern hemisphere pretty much are constant. The elements move around, but I'm going to teach them in a certain way how they're fixed. But that would be a ritual prescription I would encourage you to do is create a medicine wheel that you can walk and connect with every day and offer gratitude.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. I encourage everybody to do that um, here from the now going forward from today. Um, so I will continue on, and I'm gonna just move down um, to the curriculum so that you can see what is included here. And but definitely come here. I've put the link in the chat on YouTube. I put the link in the chat here on Zoom. Definitely come here and check out everything on the page so you can learn more about it. And so here are our program details. There will be live Zoom classes held on Wednesdays at 12 noon New York time. And these will be on January 22nd and 29th, February 5th and 12th, and March 5th and 12th. And they'll be generally about 2 hours long. And all of these sessions will be recorded. So if you can't attend live for some of the dates, don't worry, you will get the full video and audio recordings after the class is held. And so for module 1, you will be diving into the east or the spring shield of initiation. And would you like to say a little bit about each of the modules, Kedar, starting with this one?
Um, well, when everything's organized circularly in a spiral and having to choose where to begin in the circle, um, just choosing spring or east as a way of beginning the conversation. Or in truth, we could begin anywhere on the wheel. Um, and it being in the northern hemisphere, we can think of the east, the place of sunrise. And so we're going to explore, are these inner and outer aspects of east? And when I talk about gatekeepers, which I don't think they're mentioned maybe on here. Um, what are the challenges to fully being able to step into the medicine of the East, this place of um, like clarity, place of curiosity and wonder and vision. Um, like uh, what are the challenges to showing up fully in your life? That's what I call the gatekeepers. And what ritual prescriptions uh, often for the East often would engage with either air, mineral, or earth, and you'll understand why air, mineral, earth are often the ritual engagements when working with the challenges of stepping fully into the medicine of the East. We're going to dissect all of that and move deeper into um, what it means to step fully into this medicine within yourself. Um, and we'll, in each course we'll dive into a different gatekeepers and different cardinal direction.
Yes. And this is one of those courses where there's so much more to all of this than we can possibly put in the words on the page. So,
Mhm.
so many deeper levels. And so, module 2 will be the South or the Summer Shield of Initiation. Did you want to say anything about that, the South, Cater?
Yeah, similarly, the South, this place of moving from our vision, from our clarity into manifesting energy, bringing things into form. Um, in this energy of the South, but the South also elementally of fire and learning, the fire um, as a ritual engagement, both the fire within ourselves, both fire as I say, there's many faces to all of the elements. Like there's the words grandfather fire that many people may have heard. It speaks to fire as an elemental ancestor. There's also fire as a gateway of communication with spirit. A little different accent to how we're ritually working with fire. So we'll talk about like with all the directions, all the many different faces of how to ritually engage with the elements. Um, and the fire that moves from Beltane at May 1st to the summer solstice, this expanding, increasing fire of expression is different than the fire that moves uh, from summer solstice to Lunasa around August 1st, where the fire is beginning to fade, the sun is beginning to fade. And so the rituals of fire begin to look differently. So we'll speak about fire in this context through the seasons and how the rituals are reflected on this end of rituals of empowerment or rituals of maybe even using divination, fire as a divination tool. Um, and so each thing I'm saying about each one of these different directions, we're actually going to do with all of them, but I'm just picking out parts to say differently as we move through the wheel.
Yes. And then module 3 will be about the West or the Autumn Shield of Initiation.
Yeah, so this place where we cross the line around August August 1st in the northern hemisphere and begin to turn in where all the festivals of harvest, the bringing in of the nourishment, the turning in where the sap starts to recede on the vine, um, and how do we turn inward, and what are the inner and outer dynamics of that movement that are happening both within ourselves, and what are the strengths of this area of the medicine wheel, and what are the gatekeeper challenges to stepping fully into the West. Say if the West, if somebody feels challenged with difficulty um, taking in nourishment or support, like they're always doing. Let's say they have they're challenged by the gatekeeper to the West, and there are certain elemental prescriptive rituals that would likely involve either fire or water to help heal this particular gatekeeper challenge so that they could fully step in clearly and cleanly into the West. Um,
Beautiful. Yes. And then our module 4, the North or the Winter Shield of Initiation.
so as we move through the West, through autumn and the turning of the seasons, at the end of that seasonal arc where we talk about the Celtic, the Scots-Irish, the Samhain, this place on the wheel that marks, interesting enough, that's also the Day of the Dead. It's a thin time, this entering in through the threshold, this gatekeeper, this liminal space, liminal place of entrance into the darkness is also a period in the year where we acknowledge and honor our ancestors, um, in the most modernity way called Halloween over here, and then Day of the Dead in many places. And in ancient places, it was a threshold of entering into the dream time. And this is what, in the ancient calendar systems, this period of year is what we call the beginning. Things don't begin with light, they begin in the dark. Yin before yang. It is the dark and the dreaming that forms the beginning. So this seasonal arc into the dark, this period of time of surrender, letting go, um, and all the strengths and the attributes of the North medicine, um, and the challenges that sit to the gatekeepers that sit between the West and the North, that challenges and our full ability to step in to the North and stand firmly in the North. Those gatekeeper challenges that often have to do with self-acceptance and the ability to surrender and let go, um, which are, interestingly enough, tied to one another, self-acceptance and the ability to let go and surrender. Um, so examine all these ways, and again, the ritual prescriptions that could assist one in this particular place, uh, to 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 accent the strengths of the winter shield. Um, One of the things we're going to do with all the shields, just to bring it in here to the north, even though it's something we do in all of them, like I say, this if this relationship with working with the gatekeeper challenges that if those aren't resolved and one simply pushes into the north of the wheel, it tends to go into shadow. And so what you have as an expression of the medicine of the north or the east or the south or the west, if one hasn't reconciled these old ways of loving or surviving that have been implanted or imprinted by these gatekeepers, is you end up with a shadow expression of the cardinal directional medicine, and it's really unhelpful. But we'll examine, what are the shadow expressions if these gatekeeper challenges aren't acknowledged and resolved, and what that might look like with somebody. So again, it's meant as a diagnostic tool for prescribing relevant ritual remedy to individuals, groups, or communities.
Yes. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And then, so module 5 will be the center of the medicine wheel.
The center of the medicine wheel. Some say the idea of the medicine wheel is that you stand at the center. For me, standing at the center of the wheel means you strive to live your life as a ceremony. And you lean into the south or the east or the west or the north to draw upon that medicine as you need it, as life confronts you with certain challenges or internal things confront you with certain challenges. You call upon the medicine of those different directions that live within you as well, to call them up. But the return place is to coming to the north. Coming to the center of the wheel. The other way of looking at the center of the wheel is that in this arc of seasonal movement, we move from, say, east to south to west to north around the wheel. Um, there's this there's this natural thing that happens, um, in both our psyche, um, and in nature as the seasons turn, is that when you move deeply into the north, there is a call to surrender, to let go. I say to let go so completely that spring is simply able to show up only because you let go enough. And what happens when we let go is that we are giving, by grace, we are giving access to the center, to the mystery. It is only by that deep surrender that we're enable a pathway to the center of the wheel. So while we can go to the center from any place on the wheel, there is this natural place between the north and the east and working with those gatekeepers, that there is a call to the center of the wheel, um, and to touch in with the sacred in that place by going through nature in this context, the way nature sits around the center, to go into nature, to seek that connection to the holy, to the sacred, to the mystery. Um, and so we'll look at the relationship of the center of the medicine wheel to all the directions, and yet in and of and how you move with it, and yet in and of itself, staying connected with it. And also the shadow aspects of all the directions, including what the shadow of the center looks like. Um, to name a couple, like spiritual pride or the guru complex or things like that, that can be when somebody hasn't fully let go and just pretends to be connected, has fooled themselves in their connection with the sacred. Then it could take up a shadow expression. Um, so we'll look at all those different things.
Okay, so powerful. I love how you say that the East can show up sometimes just because we let go enough.
Yes, and I find that, I mean, we've all had that experience, at least if you've been on the planet any amount of time, where you have efforted, done everything possible that through your resources and intellect to do to create some shift or door to open, or even a door to close, something to happen, and nothing. And then all of a sudden you just, and it's different than giving up. It's like surrendering to something greater than yourself, whatever you call that thing. Mystery is my favorite word. Could be a mountain, could be a tree, a river, but surrendering to something outside yourself, greater than you. And yet, the moment you do it, or not shortly thereafter, that thing just on its own shifts, changes, um, through no effort, actually, through the opposite of effort of your own. And so there's something happening there that I can only call grace. And because we can't choreograph grace into our lives, we can only make ourselves available for grace through deep surrender to the mystery.
Yes. Oh, and so then finally, module 6, the final class, will be walking the medicine wheel for clarity and connection.
So in class 6, you'll have all the handouts. You'll have a page of handouts for each direction, each gatekeeper, something you can actually put up in a room, around the room, and we'll talk about more the relational context of moving through the wheel and how you work with it, how you can work with it yourself, what I call walking the wheel for clarity and connection, and also how to work with your clients or friends or others if they're having a certain challenge, to help them find where their challenge is on the wheel, and even being able to offer them some prescriptive ritual input of what they can do to address that challenge. Um, so it's actually, we'll work with the wheel in its entirety instead of each directional component part by the end.
Okay, wonderful. So everybody, you can see this will be a very, very powerful journey over the next 3 months with Kedar. And we would love to have you join us for this journey. And so you can come here and read more. Actually, this is a beautiful quote. Kedar says, medicine wheel spiritual technology offers such a map of deep relationship with ourselves and the natural world around us. While there is no singular definitive expression of a medicine wheel cosmology, we do find them to be accented differently around the planet based on one's direct relational experience of the directions, in association with the seasons, the elements, the rotation of the stars above, and the beings on the land in which they live. So beautiful. Thank you for these words, Kedar.
It's welcome. Excited to walk down this road with all of you.
Yes. And so we are truly delighted to be offering this course through the Global School for Quantum Evolution on a donation basis. The true value of this course is priceless, actually. We have a value here of $1,037 as the true value here if we had to put a number on it. But we want to make this available on a donation basis so that there will never be any financial restriction or limitation to anyone who wants to attend. So, with that offering coming from a sacred economic standpoint, we welcome you to come here, click on this button. You can submit the donation that feels right for you and join this course and join the adventure with Kedar. Be sure to register no later than Wednesday, January 15th. That's when registration will close, and the course will begin on January 22nd. So I will put this link in the chat again for everybody to make it convenient. We welcome you to come here, read more, read all about the course. And we also welcome your questions here on the live calls. So I'll be checking the chat on YouTube and also welcome you on Zoom here to put any questions that you may have in the chat. And is there anything else you wanted to say, Kedar, before we go to, and I'll stop sharing the screen here, before we go to questions, Q&A?
Nothing I can think of, and then just, if you are want to reach out to me, you can do so through my website, which I'm sure Jocelyn will. It's probably on the web page, but yeah, if you want to connect with me individually, you can reach out through the website.
Yes, and here is Kedar's website. I'll put this in the chat as well for anyone who wants to reach out. And one question here is,
Yeah, if you would, Jocelyn, put the Rites of Passage Council website.
Okay,
I have two websites. One's personal, and one's the
yes, let me go to
so
that one.
ritesofpassagecouncil.org.
Okay. Okay, there's the Rites of Passage Council. And one of the questions was, will there be, from Lori, will there be in-person add-ons to this course? And so I could put the link on your website directly to your in-person offerings. Would that be helpful, Kedar, if I put that up?
Sure. Yeah, there's I mean, there are a lot of programs and things that are offered throughout the year if people wanted to connect in person. Um, the only in-person thing that I offer that is smaller than a weekend or 2 weeks in the wilderness are the cowrie shell divination sessions that can be found probably more on my personal website. And there's also a intro call if people want to just have like a 15-minute, 20-minute call with me to see how they might move forward. Those are other ways to connect without,
Okay.
without disrupting and changing your lives too much.
But you have vision quests and you have longer term programs in person too that if people are interested, right?
Right. If you go to the Rites of Passage Council page website, or Vision Quest programs, there's a 1.5 year long training. There's cowrie shell divination training. Have a wonderful staff of women that have created a program called Seasons of Womanhood that also has within it a quest as part of a prayer fast as part of their experience. So lots of different offerings that you can explore and find out about there. And I look forward to possibly seeing some of you down the road around a fire, a real fire, not a virtual one.
Karen is asking, what is a gatekeeper?
So think of gatekeepers in terms of stories and mythologies. The gatekeepers always stand at the entrance to something, and they often have a riddle, a task, a challenge, something that has to be uh, reconciled in order to gain passage through the gate, across a bridge, through a door, through a portal. So this term gatekeeper is one that stands at the threshold. On the medicine wheel, there are certain gatekeepers that can be external, or often they are internal ways of core beliefs that we hold that uh, disrupt our ability to, say, moving from north to east, to fully show up in our lives. And we encounter these gatekeepers that may say things like the world's not safe, or I'm not welcome here, whatever those things are that go on with someone to interrupt that fully being able to step into the east. Um, Generally, I define gatekeepers as old ways of loving and or surviving that either I myself have taken on or my ancestors have taken on and simply passed down to me. So reconciling the challenges of a gatekeeper is first realizing, if I have this particular old way of loving and or surviving that I have been working from that no longer works in my life, when was it? There was a time it must have worked. And so in order to fully release yourself from a gatekeeper, to do the work to reconcile and to release something, is to release it with blessing. So some survival strategy your ancestors may have picked up coming through World War II still perpetuates in your life in a certain way. Um, and it's something you want to find the roots of and work with, and thank those ancestors. And I'm thinking of real stories now, like thank those ones who hid in the basement, or and survived, but were left this imprint of needing to remain invisible. And so that requires some not only some elemental work, but some ancestral healing, line clearing work. Those different kinds of rituals to address those things. So gatekeepers, broadly say, again, as I say, they're old ways of living and loving and or surviving that we have taken on, that prevent our ability to step fully into the medicine that's inherent in each one of these uh, shields of initiation.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kedar. And I welcome you all to put any other questions you may have. I don't see any new questions now. Um, I wanted to say something that maybe is kind of a question, or maybe to just chat a little more about. It's this idea of, we are in life, we are moving around the medicine wheel, and we are needing to, learn from each stage, and learn how to move into each stage. And that sometimes we get, often because of these gatekeepers, get stalled at moving into the next stage. And I have found that so powerful about what you are sharing here, Kedar, about when we're stuck in life, or where we feel like we can't move into the next stage of what we need to do in our life, we can always find that on the medicine wheel,
Mhm, mhm.
and find the medicine there for what to do next.
I learned, or it reminds me of early in my therapeutic life as a clinician, and back when I think it was around 25 when I started that conversation of a way of being in the world as a therapist. I realized early that this thing that I heard when other clinicians would say, "Oh, that's client resistance," and I thought, wait a minute, what's the difference between client resistance and the therapist agenda?
Uh-huh.
And then I realized I hear this word, we engage with these gatekeepers, and many people say, well, I feel stuck. And I think, well, first of all, what if stuck by definition implies you need to be somewhere else? But what if this place we call stuck is a rich landscape of possibility? And what are the qualities of it? And what are the core beliefs that live in that place? And what are the limitations and strengths of this place? Because that's where one has to go right into that place in order to uh, eventually release themselves from it. As I was saying earlier, what is the medicine that lives in that place that you have to access? Um, Instead of thinking about a gatekeeper, some I just need to get past or get rid of, or one of my things that I say often about people's engagement with elementals and ritual. At a most uh, minimal perspective, is that we treat the elements in ritual often simply as a place to get rid of something we don't want to think about. So we're going to burn it, we're going to bury it, we're going to put it in the water, We're going to throw it out on the wind. We're going to get, we're going to get rid of this thing. I don't want to think about it anymore. And use this element to do something with it. So I don't have to think about it. And say, that is not a relationship with elementals. That's like using the elementals as a garbage dump for everything we're carrying around in our heads. Um, there are other ways to work with these gatekeepers um, and these elementals and working with this energy.
Yes, yes. So powerful. Let's see. I'm looking for other questions. Sinead asks, do you work or teach about dreams?
Um, we're not going to dive into like dream um, teaching analysis. I'll have a perspective on how I hold dreams. Matter of fact, I don't know if Taria's course is going on, but Jocelyn, I have a dear friend who has a dream. That's your lady if you want to dive into dreams. Um, but the way that I work with dreams is just simply a place you journey to, and you journey back from, um, and you treat them the same. And there are ways that what happens in the dream time all of a sudden starts showing up in your physical life, or what's happening in the physical life starts showing up in the dream life, and there'll be this way that they go back and forth. And the way that I've learned, again, look at dreams from a more indigenous or shamanic perspective, is not from a place of meaning making, but a place of journeying to and journeying back from. And and another thing that I really encourage people to do when you have, especially with dreams or particular encounters or experiences, to not immediately jump to wanting to psychologize it by saying, what does this mean? Remember, meaning is like water. It's fluid. It changes. It's not going to be the same next week or in 3 weeks. Uh, it's better to ask the question in light of this dream, this experience, what action, spirit, are you guiding for me to take in my life right now? And I don't mean like in the next 10 years with your life. I mean, right now. And then you can enter into a conversation with your dream people um, through this what I call having a conversation with the sacred, and suspend the whole meaning thing. Um,
Okay. Yes. Wonderful. Um, Deborah says, I've been wanting to learn and receive guidance about walking the medicine wheel on my personal journey. Will this course be a good place to start? With a view to sharing what also supports others. And then she said, thank you so much for this gathering around the fire. Deeply grateful.
Thank you. Yes, it will give you a map, kind of a cosmological map that you can begin to work with and assist others in working with as you become proficient at understanding the map. Um, so that's one of my goals is that by the end of this, everybody has enough understanding and introduction to this medicine wheel technology to begin to work with it and deepen into it, and also assist others in doing so.
Yes. Okay. Beautiful. Well, I think we're almost at our closing time here.
Well, let's say
Um,
one more thing that just came to mind from your other question, Jocelyn. A lot of systems of I would say divination perspective uh, focus on giving you information about something. Um, Many of them don't particularly focus on what ritual prescriptive actions to take. And that's one of the things that this is organized towards. It's not simply about, oh, here's your challenges, here's your strengths, here's where you are. This came from this other lifetime and now it's working here. It's like, oh, that's well and good, but what do I do? And if you remember each one of those courses at the end, it said, what action shall I take? Um, so it's designed to move one toward what prescriptive ritual action can I take to address the situation at hand, not just to gather information.
okay. Yes. We have one more question that I think is important to get to. So Lillian is asking, I'm familiar with the medicine wheel and love it. Will this deepen me in that, or is it for beginners?
This particular perspective, I don't know which perspective uh, you have with the medicine wheel. This particular perspective will be somewhat unique. So I imagine it will deepen you into it. And also think of the medicine wheel as a relationship. So you can, it's like a rabbit hole. Um, it's not simply an introduction, but for those that may have already deep relationship with it, then you're going to go deeper. Um, and of course, that happens. I mean, I'm still learning things about things showing up in the medicine wheel in terms of rituals and what's happening on the wheel. Um, something even just a short snippet, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I realized that uh, a person I was working with said they had a emptiness in their stomach when we were out in the woods, and I said, "Is it emptiness of pressure? I mean, they have a sensation." I said, "Is this sensation of pressure or an emptiness?" And they said, "Emptiness." And so immediately my mind thought, "I wonder if we're going to end up in an earth ritual." And we did. And it had to do with a broken lineage of connection with a particular line of ancestors. And then I realized how Earth holds those connections to our blood lineage differently than fire holds connection to spirit. It's just a nuance that I recently learned. So it's definitely the more you're in relationship, the more it will teach you.
Yeah, and I will just say from my personal experience, if you're on the fence, if you're not sure, go for it. You will never regret learning from Cater. His wisdom that he holds is just so profound, and the way that you share and explain these things and help people really go into it in the way that's right for them, Cater, is just so beautiful and life changing. So I would say if anybody is on the fence, give it a try. You will not regret joining this course. So I think we do need to close pretty soon. Is there anything else you wanted to say, Cater, or yeah, any other comments that feel important?
Um, for those that want to dive into the experience of it, that would be, I mean, the course is great and you'll learn a lot. And but to experience what I call like Death Lodge ritual process work, where we're using and working with these things within preparation for like quest or other things that we do, um, that we won't be able to do online. So if you're one of those people that want to like taste it firsthand and get down in the actual physical dirt and fire and water, then I would need to see you in front of me as a physical body rather than on a screen.
And I will post here it looks like your events calendar page, the upcoming programs page on the ROPC website. Because those are if you want to be in person with Cater, go here. Put that link in the chat.
Hmm.
Okay. So, well, maybe you want to answer this one too, Cater. Gwen is saying, have you any plans to come to the UK?
I do a lot of stuff over there. Actually, I had a quest that was scheduled to be in Spain that didn't come together this year, and this is the first year in 4 years we haven't. So I don't have anything currently planned over there. But it's rare that I don't end up over there. A lot of my students come from over there over here. Um, but yeah, stay just keep an eye on the website, and if you're signed up to the newsletter, you'll get program announcements because we do stuff in the UK and in Europe sometimes.
Fantastic. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Cater, for all that you do, for all of the depths of the medicine wheel that you are sharing here in this beautiful course, and for spending time with all of us today. Thank you so much. It's
Uh,
wonderful to be with you.
my honor. Enjoyed it.
Yes. And thank you, everybody, for being on live with us today. Thank you also to those watching this later as a recording. Hope you've enjoyed every minute of it. If you're interested in joining Kedar's course, I will put the link to join in the description field below the video here. And of course, we'll send a few emails to make sure you have those links. And of course, write to me and my team, hello@wearesacredplanet.com. If you have any questions at all, we'll get right back to you and get you what you need.
I'd like to close with a poem. Are you complete?
Wonderful.
Okay. There's a poem that I like. This is one I wrote many back in 2013. It's called Follow Your Name. Pay attention. Pay attention. Be careful not to distract yourself from yourself by focusing on the obstacles in your life. Focus on the delivery of your medicine, not on the stories in your head where you recount your limitations and losses. Do not indulge in such self-importance as a way to avoid taking responsibility for your medicine and the gifts of healing that you came into this world to offer. You are the heroes and the heroines of your own story. And if you are not initiated into the bone memory, into the mythology of your own life, you will likely be living an existence that is not entirely your own. And the life you know you must live is the one standing just a few paces in front of you, looking back over its shoulder with eyes wide, waiting for you to remember. Apprentice yourself to yourself and walk to the horizon of your own dreams, the place where you live in the absence of those old stories, the place where the sharp edges of this unfolding moment demands your full attention. Who are you? I Where are you? I am here, you reply. Who are you? I am this moment, you say. Pay attention, pay attention. Stay humble, remain focused. Do not move through your life in such a way as to allow another to give you a name you have no belonging to. Pay attention, pay attention. Stay humble, remain focused. Do not move through your life in such a way that you allow another to give you a name you have no belonging to. You go well.
Thank you, Kedar. Much love, everybody. See you again soon.